with more access to safe, relaxing recreational spaces. To learn more and to stay up to date on trail projects, visit piercecountywa.gov/trailplans. Together, we can build trails for a healthier, more connected Pierce County.
Picking your kids up at school? Take a moment to breathe.
Hi, Mommy.
Let's be idle-free 253. Learn more at tpchd.org/idle-free 253.
Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted.
Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Pierce County Council. Today is May 13th, 2025. The time is 3:01 p.m. If the clerk could please call the roll.
Councilmember Yambe?
Here.
Councilmember Kruver?
Here.
Councilmember Denson?
Here.
Councilmember Herrera?
Here.
Councilmember Morel?
Here.
Councilmember Ayala?
Here.
Councilmember Hitchin?
Here.
You have 7 members present.
With 7 members present, we do have a quorum. That brings us to the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance of the flag led by Councilmember Yambe this afternoon, followed by a moment of silence dedicated to our men and women serving overseas in the military, followed by our land acknowledgement. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We acknowledge that we are on the traditional homelands of the Coast Salish tribes. Coast Salish people have lived on and stewarded these lands since time immemorial and continue to do so today. We recognize that this land acknowledgement is one small step toward true allyship, and we commit to uplifting the voices, experiences, and histories of the indigenous people of this land.
Thank you, Councilmember Yambe. That brings us to section 4, which is approving our regular agenda. Is there any objection to approving our agenda as presented, regular agenda? Seeing none, we will consider the agenda approved. On today's council agenda, there will be multiple opportunities for public comment. On the consent agenda, you may provide comment on any final action item. This does not include items placed on the consent agenda for introduction and scheduling. In today's consent agenda, there are 2 items for introduction and scheduling and 1 settlement agreement. During section 8 of the agenda, we will take public comment on each resolution individually. And finally, under community forum, there'll be an opportunity to address the council on any topic that's not up for final action this afternoon. For more information, there's directions and details in pretty fine print at the bottom of page 1. We are now at our consent agenda. Does any member wish to pull an item from our consent agenda? Then I will entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda as written.
Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the consent agenda. Any further comments? I did not. I was going to do that. But thank you, just in case I forgot. I do want to open this up for public comment on the consent agenda. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we are going to go online, Mr. Weinsberry, and see if anybody has comments on the consent agenda.
Yes, Madam Chair. For any members of the public who wish to provide comment on any final action items, press the raise hand icon on Zoom or star 9 on your telephone keypad. And I see no hands, Madam Chair.
With no hands raised, I'll close public comment on the consent agenda and ask the clerk to please call the roll on adopting the consent agenda.
Councilmember Morel?
Aye.
Councilmember Denson?
Aye.
Councilmember Herrera?
Aye.
Councilmember Kruver?
Aye.
Councilmember Ayala?
Aye.
Councilmember Yambe?
Aye.
Councilmember Hitchin?
Aye.
You have 7 ayes, 0 nays.
With 7 ayes and 0 nays, the consent agenda is adopted. Thank you, everybody. That brings us to section 6, which is messages from the executive. There are none this afternoon, so we'll go to section 7, which is proclamations, recognitions, and awards. Our first proclamation of the Pierce County Council and Executive is designated May 2025 as Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in Pierce County, Washington. And I'd like to invite Lua Pritchard, Executive Director of the Asian Pacific Cultural Center, and her many associates that came to support her, and you can all be around her at the podium. And we're going to invite Councilmember Yambe to read this into the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A proclamation of the Pierce County Council and Executive designating May 2025 as Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in Pierce County, Washington. Whereas in 1978, President Jimmy Carter proclaimed May 1st through 10th Asian American Heritage Week to underline the appreciation for the contributions of Asian Americans have made to the United States and to recognize the immigration and naturalization laws that discriminate against them, especially regarding education, housing, and employment. And whereas in 1992, Congress passed a law that annually designates May as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, with May being selected as the month in commemoration of the immigration of the first Japanese, May 7th, 1843, and the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad, May 10th, 1869, and whereas the Federal Asian Pacific American Council, which is the premier organization representing Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders, HPI employees in the federal and district court, a District of Columbia governments, established the 2025 National AA and HPI Heritage Month theme as Legacy of Leadership and Resilience. And whereas this year's theme, Legacy of Leadership and Resilience, pays homage to the contributions of AA and HPI leaders who have created a foundation for future generations to thrive, even in the face of adversity. And whereas the history of the systemic barriers faced by Asian Americans is remembered in Pierce County today through things like the Chinese Reconciliation Park, established in the early 1990s. Chinese Reconciliation Park memorializes the Tacoma riot so that it may never ever be again repeated. And whereas the Washington State Fairgrounds in Puyallup was once known as Camp Harmony during World War II, where it was used as a transfer station to internment camps, an era in American history where 120,000 Japanese Americans without criminal charges were stripped of their constitutionally protected freedoms and detained. This period is memorialized through the Remembrance Gallery at the Washington State Fairgrounds. And whereas AA and HPI people have been and continue to be innovative leaders, trailblazers, and agents of progress in the United States, reaching the height of achievement in industries like science, medicine, technology, innovative farmers and ranchers, lawyers, judges, civic and government leaders. And whereas today, more than 700,000 Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders live in Washington, representing 48 Asian and Pacific Islander nations, and through their actions make our state a more vibrant, prosperous, and secure community. And whereas Pierce County is home to the Asia Pacific Cultural Center that serves as an ambassador for all AA and HPI communities in Pierce County and across the state, sharing cultures, providing resources, and promoting inclusivity. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed on this 13th day of May 2025 by the Pierce County Executive that May 2025 is Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and the County Council. In Pierce County, Washington, we encourage residents to partake in community education and celebration events across Pierce County.
Let's give them all a hand. Ms. Pritt?
Well, Madam Chair and respected members of the Council of Pierce County, I am here with just a very few of our community leaders who represent Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, Native Hawaiians. We are here to really say thank you. Thank you to Pierce County, the people of Pierce County, for honoring all of us. There are thousands of us living in Pierce County, and we only hope and pray every day that we are making a good difference within our neighborhoods and our people of Pierce County. Thank you so very much for this honor.
Thank you. I will open this up to my colleagues to see if anyone has any comments. Councilmember Denson.
Just really quickly, I just want to thank you for all of your advocacy, your community organizing, your work, whether it is making sure that everyone in Pierce County is educated about the variety of cultures that you represent and that you serve, or whether you're providing direct services to folks to help them. Housing, I mean, you're building housing facilities. It's just amazing. I've just been completely blown away since the moment that I met you, Lua, and all of the folks that work with you. You see a problem, you see an issue, and nothing stops you. Nothing can stand in your way to just accomplishing exactly what needs to be accomplished. And I am so grateful and so thankful for all that you do with such a spirit of generosity and humility and sincerity that we're all building a better Pierce County together. So thank you so much.
So much. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. We'll go to Councilmember Ayala.
Thank you, Chair. I have to say APCC is a proud member of District 4, so just want to ping that one. Yes. And with it, also want to acknowledge, Councilmember Denson talked a little bit about this, but the work and services that this organization does for community, from like young little babies to those that are in our aging population, cross-generationally, within housing, within after-school programs, and whatnot, with the resources that you have is quite incredible. And I know that there's a new building coming your way, and I'm very, very excited for it. Hopefully there's no delays in that none. No, Lua, you would never allow that.
Ahead of schedule.
Ahead of schedule. We love to hear that. So I'm looking forward to visiting because that will be a huge resource and will just augment the many great things that are happening already.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilmember Yambe.
So, Auntie Lua, it's an honor to be able to deliver this proclamation. I count myself very fortunate my colleagues allowed me to do this. I am one of the 2 Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islanders who have ever served on the Pierce County Council. The former was one of our predecessors, Stan Fleming. And so, it's a very small group, and just feel the tremendous weight and responsibilities of standing up for all communities, but have the special feeling of the support from my community. And so appreciate all the work that each of you does each and every day to serve our communities and help build a stronger Pierce County. And so it's an honor to be here and an honor to have read this proclamation. So appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'll close before we invite you up to take a picture with just gratitude from our business incubator during COVID to helping us with trusted messengers in the community to help spread information around how to keep ourselves safe, to opening up a new fantastic center and everything that happened in between. You are one of the partners that we look to when we are trying to reach an audience that sometimes doesn't trust government, or we don't have the ability to have the direct translation, and translation through a translator is not quite the same as a community member. We all know that. So especially if you go to Google Translate. So thank you for really bringing the many different skills that your network has and brings to our community to help us serve the residents that are choosing to live here in Pierce County. So thank you
so much. And we can't do our work without all of you and the work that you all do for all of our people. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Weinsberry, how would you like to arrange for a photo? Oh, sorry. Mr. Dominique.
Let's have Auntie Lua come up to the podium or up to the dais with you guys, and then if you guys just all want to gather in front.
Perfect. Sorry, Mr. Dominique. One for you, and then we have several other copies. So let's, where's my Tacoma people? Tacoma schools? One of you want to hold that? Alice, Priya. Yes, it always makes a better picture if it's opened. And I got one other. I don't know. Oh, no. He's so hilarious. What is he doing? There we go. Okay. How do we do? We look good?
All right, you guys look great. Can't promise my photo will be as good as Jay or I'll try. There we go. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for taking the time. Okay. So our next proclamation is declaring the Pierce County Council and Executive declaring May as Wildfire Awareness Month, and I'd like to invite R.L. Soley, our Director of the Department of Emergency Management, and Chief John Parkinson to from East Pierce County and Fire and Rescue to the podium, and then anyone else that came with, or if anyone else is supposed to speak, to the podium, and we will go from there as Councilmember Cruver reads this into the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A proclamation of the Pierce County Council designating May 2025 as Wildfire Awareness Month in Pierce County, Washington. Whereas wildfires increasingly pose a threat to homes and communities throughout Washington state as more people are moving into the wildland areas. And whereas with increasing temperatures, decreasing summer rain, and early snow melt, our communities, especially our frontline communities, including but not limited to our seniors, low-income residents, and those with disabilities and functional needs, have become increasingly susceptible to wildfire and smoke. This has elevated the need for wildfire prevention and preparedness at both the community and individual homeowner levels. This is clearly evidenced by our now yearly smoke-filled skies. And whereas in September 2020, the Sumner Grade Fire's flames traveled along State Route 410 between Bonnie Lake and Sumner, ultimately destroying over 500 acres, 2 homes, and several other structures, and resulted in the evacuation of thousands in the vicinity. And whereas the Washington State Department of Natural Resources cited that 85% of wildfires that occur in Washington are human-caused, and about 52% are determined to have been negligently or intentionally started. And whereas active forest management, including thinning, prescribed burns, and strategic harvesting, reduces fuel loads and the risk of catastrophic wildfire, while also promoting healthier, more resilient forests. And whereas the Pierce County Council and Executive support local governments, local responders, and community leaders, focusing energy on community preparedness to survive wildfire by working together to prepare their homes and communities. The preparedness steps taken today can protect property and help homes have a better chance of surviving during a wildfire incident, and provide a safer space for most first responders to help protect homes. And whereas when whole communities implement appropriate pre-fire activities like evacuation planning, adding defensible space on their properties, and home hardening, they improve the survivability of their individual homes and community during wildfire. And whereas local, state, and federal agencies and organizations work together in Pierce County to increase awareness of wildfire risk to ensure that communities are prepared and resilient to wildfire. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Pierce County Council that May 2025 is recognized as Wildfire Awareness Month in Pierce County, Washington.
Let's give them a hand. We're all clapping for fires happening, everybody. So, Director Soley, Chief.
Go ahead.
All right, I'll go first. Am I on here? All right. Well, thank you, Council, for inviting me here today. Again, my name is John Parkinson. I'm the Fire Chief of East Pierce Fire and Rescue. I also currently serve as the President of the Pierce County Fire Chiefs Association. So I just thought as I was coming here, I jotted down a few notes just of some lessons learned from the Sumner Grade Fire in the fall of 2020. So first off, next month represents 32 years for the fire in the fire service for me. So that means 27 years back when Sumner Grade Fire occurred. I would have bet you an unlimited amount of money that that fire would have never occurred. So my point in saying that is lesson number one is that what Sumner Grade Fire showed us is that Western Washington is not immune from large-scale wildfires like we see in Eastern Washington. The second note in that then is that if it's bad here, It is equally as bad, likely, in Western Oregon, as well as Eastern Oregon and Eastern Washington. That's important because that means that resources are suddenly limited because they have already been deployed elsewhere. In case of the Sumner Grade fire, that incident initially started out as a single alarm response. Within a few minutes was upgraded to a second alarm fire. When a third alarm fire was requested, South Sound 911 notified us that there are no additional resources in the county. We asked for additional resources from King County and Thurston County. We were told there were no additional resources from either of those counties. It took roughly 2 to 3 days once we requested a state mobilization to get those resources. We had one person from the mobilization team for that time period. So that meant we were alone for roughly 2 to 3 days with our own resources from East Pierce and what was available from within the county. But if you remember that time, everybody else was busy. So we were managing an incident that was overwhelming us. But by the way, we still had our normal business to deal with. So people still called 911 for medical problems. We still had a house fire. We still had other brush fires. So the last item of note there is just the impact to local infrastructure, which I think was something that many of us had not ever experienced. So we had a complete loss of internet service initially. That went on for 3 to 4 days. All of our infrastructure is tied back to Comcast, to internet service. All of our phones and all of our computers. Our copper went down, as well as all cell service. Once the cell towers generator backups died, that took out cell service. So it's very hard to request resources from the county, from the state, from any local or regional partners when you don't have the ability to communicate except from word of mouth. So thankfully, we have invested very heavily into our internal infrastructure, but a lot of lessons learned for both us as well as the community. So thank you for recognizing Wildfire Awareness Month. It's important to not just us, but obviously the entire county. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Council. I just am here to share the message of preparedness. We have in Pierce County, we are one of 11 other counties, or I guess there's 12 of us total, who participate in the Ready, Set, Go campaign. And so that is an evacuation process. And so it's very easy. It's level 1 is be ready, level 2 is be set, and level 3 is go now. Really easy for all of our residents to know and understand those evacuation levels and how to prepare at each of those levels to actually leave your home or your business. The best way to become prepared is to sign up for PC Alert, and there is an easy button to connect with that on our website. And so I encourage everybody to share the message, share the word that PC Alert is available and is a great way for us to be able to share evacuation notices, especially in the event of a wildfire where we may not have a lot of time or a lot of knowledge about the fire activity. And so as we go into the summer, that just is very important to us. So thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for recognizing wildfires in our community.
Thank you very much. I also noticed we have some other guests here that would, someone from, just if you could give your name for the record, because we didn't have you down on the list. So.
Absolutely. My name is James Moore. I'm with Pierce Conservation District. I would just like to say thank you, members of the Pierce County Council, for passing the Wildfire Awareness Proclamation. This is a further step towards making our communities safer and healthier. Partnering with the Tacoma-Pierce County Health Department, the Department of Natural Resources, Department of Emergency Management, and through dozens of events and hundreds of conversations around Pierce County with community members, I have seen firsthand the concerns, uncertainty, and fears surrounding wildfire and toxic smoke. But I'm also seeing immense relief in their eyes when learning about simple things they can do to help protect their homes, health, and their families. I am extremely grateful to know our County Council sees wildfire prevention as a priority. It is my sincere wish that Pierce Conservation District, alongside our steadfast partnerships, especially with the Tacoma-Pierce County Health Department, as well as the Department of Emergency Management, will have your continued support with this crucial work to prepare our friends and neighbors for our upcoming wildfire year and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I am going to open this up for comments to see if anyone has anything they'd like to say, and then we'll take a picture. Councilmember Denson.
Yes, just real quickly, thank you all for your work. I continually hear from fire chiefs, for example, that what keeps them up late at night our wildfires, our canopy fires, in all our communities. I hear it from our Chief Doan out in Gig Harbor as well. And yet I hear from constituents all the time things like, I've lived here for 50 years. I've never seen a fire. People are still so used to in Western Washington thinking that wildfires are not going to happen here. That's an Eastern Washington thing. But we are having wildfires in Western Washington. So I know we all continue to get the word out. And testimonials like yours, Chief Parkinson, that this has happened and the impact, and it's quite scary hearing about the lack of resources when you're calling for resources and there's none coming because they're dealing with their own communities. I mean, that type of thing is, could easily happen in the future, and I'm sure will happen in the future. So to that point, being prepared, being ready to go. First of all, Director Solie, thank you, and we continually push PC Alert. It's so important, especially in our rural communities where our sheriff department says, we're going to do everything we can, but we're not going to come knocking on your door. We don't have the capacity. People have to be paying attention and be signed up to the resources that we have. And then preparing their homes. Mr. Moore, thank you so much. I know that I've worked with you already with constituents, with your conservation district program, so that individuals can assume that their own personal responsibility to protect their property and make sure that their property is as resilient as possible. That helps our firefighters as well. So you all have different roles in this, and they're all just equally important. And I think our role is making sure that our constituents understand that this is a serious issue. We all need to be aware and work together. So thank you all.
Thank you for the comments. We'll go to Councilmember Morrell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll echo some of the same comments that my colleague had just mentioned, but I'll go into a little bit more detail. When the Sumner Grade fire happened, that was my first year on the council, and just to be able to go up there and kind of watch your team work was incredible. The one story that stuck with me the most was one of your firefighters, water pressure was an issue up there, and one of your firefighters ventured into one of the neighbor's backyard and found a very large swimming pool, and they decided to puncture the side of that swimming pool and let it go over the edge. And it was amazing because that thousands of gallons diverted the fire around the neighborhood. Did get the one house, but thinking like that is incredible. Kudos to your team for being so creative and ingenious on that. It saved 4 or 5 homes. The other thing that came out of this is when I was also going out to Thun Field to watch the helicopters that the state supplied for, their work on there, that those individuals that were from emergency management state had to sleep on the ground in cots because we had no facilities for them. So out of that came the remodel of the CAP building, which is now going to be an emergency management control center and a community center at Thun Field for emergencies like this. We're thankful for the state for investing $1 million into that facility. It's currently being remodeled, so hopefully by the end of summer it'll be ready to go. And that's a major, major accomplishment. And then also like to express my thanks to PALS for their permitting process that they put in place to expedite all permits that had to deal with the fire damage. So I think everyone kind of came together, and we learned a lot. Hopefully that knowledge can carry forward and hopefully not have a repeat of that issue. But as it was stated, you just never know anymore. So with that, congratulations to all, and to a safer future. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I will just close with my thanks as well. Thank you for all the work you do in preparing people. Huge fan of PC Alert, and I also remind people that they can sign up for several addresses. So if you, as my recollection, I feel like I did this for one of my family members. So I could, like, if something was happening in their jurisdiction, not where I was normally, I would get alerts on their behalf, just in case they were out of town or I knew they were away from cell service. So it was just a really helpful way, because they live in the Graham area, and it allowed me to keep tabs on them without actually keeping tabs on them in a weird way. So I could alert them if something was going on and they were out of town, which allowed me to be a second line of defense. And then they did the same thing for me with my address. She's signaling, is this up to 5? You can put up to 5 addresses. So there we go. So helpful thing to do, put your kid's school address, things like that. It's pretty helpful. So thank you all. We're going to do a picture. Mr. Dominique, I'll get it right this time, is here managing photos this afternoon. So how would you like to do this?
I think we could all get behind.
We could all get up there? Okay.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good.
Okay.
We always put our guests in the middle. Even the tall one. Even the tall one. Someone from Conservation District want to? Sure. EMS,
Oh, can I go down there next to
You
my
get
crew?
under the seal.
Pardon me. Oh, I don't want to see you. Just wanted this side of Melissa.
How'd we do?
Squish it, everybody.
Scoot in.
Fit.
Get in closer. We're friends.
Oh yeah, that works. All right, let's get a few photos here. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Absolutely. Here's hoping you aren't too busy with that this year. Thank you. All right, whatever.
See you
Friday? What's Friday?
See you tweet.
Yes, we'll see you Friday.
We're gonna get a seat for you.
Okay, yeah.
We're dancing.
Okay. So that brings us to section 8 of our agenda, which is resolutions. We now have proposal R 2025-148 before us. I'm going to look to Councilmember Denson for a motion.
Thank you, Chair. I move for approval, proposal number R 2025-148.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve resolution 2025-148, and I'm going to ask the clerk to please read it in the record.
Proposal number R 2025-148, a resolution of Pierce County Council confirming Travis Buell as Director of the Parks and Recreation Department.
Thank you. Ms. Long, I'm going to ask you to introduce.
Thank you, and good afternoon. So the resolution before you today would confirm the executive's appointment of Travis Buell as the Director of the Parks and Recreation Department. Section 330 of the Pierce County Charter provides that except for those positions filled by election, the executive shall appoint the chief officer of each executive department. And those appointments by the executive are subject to confirmation by a majority of the council. The Parks and Recreation Department was created by ordinance of the council, and its functions and duties are codified at section 206010K of the county code. The required qualifications for the director of the Parks and Recreation Department are set forth in section 207010A for the general qualifications for directors, and subsection C, those specific to the Parks and Recreation Department director, and those are set forth, of course, in the code and also in my staff report for your review. Procedures for confirming appointments of chief officers of executive departments are set forth in the code as well. These are in the council's rules of procedure. And those provide that every appointment by the executive of a chief officer of an executive department shall be in the form of a resolution and shall be reviewed by the appropriate council standing committee. In this case, this was reviewed by the council's Community Development and Environment Committee on May 5th and received a do pass recommendation. The code further provides that the committee may require each appointee to complete a standard questionnaire to be used to ascertain the appointee's general background and qualifications, and that and other information is contained in your packets for your review. The executive has appointed Travis Buell as the Director of the Parks and Recreation Department, and this appointment is before you today for confirmation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to start by inviting the executive up to introduce Mr. Buell.
Well, thank you, Chair Hitchin. Members of the council, good afternoon. It's really good to see you. I'm excited to be here to present to you my 4th department director for confirmation by the council. I'm quite pleased to present to you Travis Buell for your confirmation to serve as our next Parks and Recreation Services Director. We had 39 qualified applicants for this position. My team led a robust multi-step review and interview process that included internal staff teams, external partners such as trails advocates, park users, other park districts in the county, and school districts who we partner with often, and others were part of the review and recommendation process to me. Again, I want to thank our Deputy County Executive, Scott Nicholson, who continues to lead the robust process for hiring all of our department directors, and he remains doing an exceptional job of not only sourcing excellent candidates, but running a robust and rigorous process for us to make the best decision to have the best leaders leading our departments in Pierce County. You all have had the chance to meet with Travis individually, read his written material, and hear more from him during the committee hearing for his confirmation hearing. But for the benefit of the public and other county employees, I'd like to briefly introduce you to Travis and share why he is very qualified. Travis is a certified Parks and Recreational professional through the National Recreation and Parks Association. Travis has over 20 years of service in Parks and Recreation and 10 years in senior leadership positions. During that time, he's supervised literally hundreds of staff members along his career already. His leadership experience spans municipalities, including Seattle most recently, but also Las Vegas, Kitsap County, and Johnson County. Travis has experience tackling really big issues, including prioritizing transparency, equity, and long-term public benefits for Parks and Recreation. He's led efforts to restructure outdated hiring practices to eliminate bias. He's led efforts to prioritize Americans with Disabilities Act accessibility improvements so that all folks, regardless of their ability, can access recreation opportunities to live long, healthy lives. And also, he's had recent experience transitioning contracted services back to in-house services to enhance accountability and service delivery, and very successful public-private partnership development as well. Travis's responsibilities at the county will include leading all aspects of the Parks and Recreation Services Department. This includes 5,200 acres at 44 different park sites, including 3 recreation and community centers, a major sports complex, an ice rink, a skate park, 2 boat launches, 2 golf courses, miles and miles of trail corridors, hopefully many more in our near future, a mountain bike park, and a large number of passive open space sites throughout the county. The department also offers a variety of special events, programs and activities for all ages and ability levels to support everyone in Pierce County to live long, healthy, and connected lives. Since Travis started in his acting director capacity in late April, he's already begun building trusting relationships with the many staff work groups that he gets the opportunity to lead in our Parks Department and the many external partners we rely on every day to deliver service. We have a lot of work in front of us to prepare for uncertain financial times, align our budget to our revenues, deliver a capital delivery program, and other essential services to allow us to make progress on our most pressing challenges. We have work to do to right-size our capital improvement program for parks and recreation assets and deliver on what we say we are going to do to help facilitate the assets and programs for our community, for our residents, to help them lead long, healthy lives where they feel connected to each other, to nature, and to have a really high quality of life. So, Madam Chair, I'm pleased to present to you Mr. Travis Buell for confirmation to the role of Parks and Recreation Services Director. I'm sure he's prepared to share more about him and answer any questions you and the other council might have. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing the process and the work that you're doing. Mr. Buell, if you'd like to come up to the podium, and welcome to Pierce County.
Thank you.
And I know you are ready to just kind of do a little bit of an introduction, so however you want to do it, but we're nice. We're very nice up here, so go ahead.
Well, thank you. And I did prepare to stand here and tell you a little bit more about myself, but I don't know that I can do it any better than Executive Mello did for me. So I'm going to try not to work backwards from that. But I do have a little bit of a statement about who I am and where I want to go with this, if that's okay with you. First of all, it's truly an honor to stand here in front of you to be considered for this final confirmation as for the Parks Director position. As he mentioned, I do have over 20 years of experience in park and recreation. However, it's been a lifelong passion that I've been a part of since I was 12 years old, getting my first paycheck through a youth sports league. So I've been a part of it my entire life, but professionally for about over 20 years. For me, it's about connections. It's about connecting people. It's about connecting places. It's connecting opportunities. And I think that since arriving here, I've really put a focus on building trust, strengthening our teams, and aligning our work with the values of our county. I've been inspired every single day I show up about the incredible work that our staff are doing already in light of growing demand and resource scarcity on occasions. I am incredibly proud to stand with them and committed to help them focus our efforts so they can do our best work, doing the right things in the right places at the right times. As you know, parks are one of the most visible promises we can make to a community, and one of those services that touches every part of our lives. We support physical and mental health. We offer spaces for safe gatherings and connections. We promote youth development, protect natural lands, and foster cultural expression. We also, more importantly, and equally as importantly, I should say, strengthen our neighborhoods by attracting home buyers and businesses and serve as economic drivers to help sustain our county. In short, we are essential infrastructure for healthy, equitable, and thriving Pierce County, and I'm excited to be a part of it. I say excited several times, and I mean it true-heartedly. Not because it's going to be easy, but because the work that we're going to do matters. I feel truly blessed beyond anything that I truly deserve to be standing in front of you, and I take your recommendation and your trust as the highest compliment that I can receive. I will show up every single day for you, for the executive team, for my staff, and the people of Pierce County with humility, integrity, and a relentless focus on service. So thank you for your time and your confidence. I look forward to serving with you.
Thank you very much for sharing your passion. You can hear it. I'm going to look to my colleagues for questions or comments. Councilmember Morrell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for making it this far in the process. You know, it still might be iffy. So, but I think everyone on all my colleagues will say some of the frustrations that we have felt with parks, especially in getting capital projects up and running. The process to get from point A to point B has been painful. Also, from my perspective, watching master plans sit on a shelf for 20 years with the community asking, well, what happened? These are some of the biggest tasks that you will have coming into this department, is trying to get the ship straightened out and going in the what I would say is the correct position. We talk about equity, and you will hear me say I talk about geographic equity. And I was just in D.C. last week, and I was amazed at how many adult recreation activities were happening on a lawn between monuments. It wasn't a backstop. It wasn't a baseball diamond. It wasn't elaborate. There were no restroom facilities around, but there was probably 100 adults playing softball in their little corners. And that's kind of what the public wants. They don't need big fancy areas to play in or to bring their kids and have a good time. So, you know, when you think about parks, you know, it's not these, like I say, big elaborate facilities out there that cost us a lot of money to maintain. So with you coming in, I'm definitely going to look, you know, to, you know, what's your ideas on that and how you're going to move some things forward here. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad now we can put a face to the position and I can make those calls.
Oh, please do, anytime. And as I mentioned, I do look forward to hearing all of your priorities and commitments that you would like us to follow through with. It will be a collaborative effort across the entire organization, and so I look forward to that as well. I do also believe in equitable use and distribution of our parks and our lands and our resources, and that is also by geographic equity. So that's definitely on our radar.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilmember Krueger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just kind of want to reiterate, I think you're talking about Sandlot, some play fields like Sandlot. And you know, that would be great because easy to maintain and not expensive, and that would be awesome to have it. But I too look forward to the direction that you can take us to see what's new, what's different, and getting some of these projects done would be awesome. It would be great working with you.
Thank you so much. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that the team that we have out there already with Kyle and Jessica and Kimberly, they truly have their heart in the right place and want to do the right things. And so we're in a really good spot to move this forward quickly.
Looking forward. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And Sandlot's without the giant dog, though. We don't want... Okay, we're going to go to Councilmember Yambe.
Thank you. Sorry. Travis, you've just, been around a short while, but it's very clear that you've already been meeting with neighbors and constituents and trying to be responsive to the needs that are popping up. And I've been very impressed by the kind of like head first and diving into the work. And so, everything that we said at the pre-meetings, you're living up to all the hype that the executive's office has put up. And so I have very good feelings, and I am encouraged by it, and I look forward to seeing the work that you're going to be doing. So appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And I'm feeling this is like need to ask a question just to have you answer one. So I'm just curious, in your prior roles, did you have the opportunity to work with tribal nations, and how did you work in that within the different parks districts and organizations that you dealt with?
Sure. With Kitsap County and the land that we had there, we definitely worked with the tribal environment community. So we also, obviously, the City of Seattle had the tribal summits and a lot of events there as well. So we do have experience with Littard and others around the community, and look forward to working with them as well.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. I just felt like we had to ask one question here, everybody. So I am not seeing anyone with a desire to speak. Do you have any closing comments or anything that you wanted to say that you feel like you didn't get a chance to say?
No, nothing other than thank you for this opportunity, and thank you to Executive Mello for being here and present to make me sound better than I really feel I am. So I look forward to it.
Well, it was very impressive to read, so glad to end. So appreciate you being here, and you're doing a wonderful job. So it's always nervous being on the hot seat or hot mic. I am going to open this up to a public hearing. So at this time, if anyone would like to address the Council on Resolution 2025-148, please come to the podium. We'll start in chambers. Not seeing anyone, so we will go online, Mr. Weinsberry.
Yes, Madam Chair. For the members of the public who wish...
Sorry.
For the members of the public who wish to provide comment on proposal number R2025-148, press the raise hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone keypad. And Madam Chair, I see no hands.
Sorry, turn your mic off. With no hands raised, we will close public comment, bring it back before the council. Is there any further comments? Well, I will just thank you for making it through the process. Thank you, executive, for doing so much stakeholdering in this. We're going to open this up and ask the clerk to call the roll on the adoption of R 2025-148.
Councilmember Denson? Aye. Councilmember Herrera?
Aye.
Councilmember Yambe?
Aye.
Councilmember Ayala?
Aye.
Councilmember Krueger?
Aye.
Councilmember Morel?
Aye.
Councilmember Hitchin?
Aye.
You have 7 ayes, 0 nays.
With 7 ayes and 0 nays, the motion is adopted. We're going to invite you to come up and take a picture. Congratulations, Mr. Burrow. Have this in here. In our next chambers, I have a button. Just push it and they all go down. Pleasure. Congratulations. You made it through.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you. This is the last time we have to do chair and arrangements tonight, everybody. Okay. That brings us to Resolution 2025-146. I'm going to look to Council Member Krueger for a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move R 2025-146 for approval.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve R 2025-146. If the clerk could please read it into the record.
Proposal number R 2025-146, a resolution of the Pierce County Council setting the date of an evening District Number 3 council meeting for Tuesday, August 19th, 2025 at 6:00 p.m. at Pierce County Public Works Central Maintenance Facility, Elk Plain Meeting Room, 4812 196th Street East in Spanaway, Washington.
Thank you. Ms. Long to introduce.
Thank you. So the Pierce County Charter provides that the council shall conduct at least one evening meeting each year in each council district. And the council's rules of procedure provide that the specific time, place, and dates of these evening meetings shall be set by the adoption of a resolution. The resolution before you today, as you've heard in the title, will set the time, date, and place for the 2025 evening District Number 3 council meeting, and the details were recited by the clerk. I will note that this meeting will be held in place of the regular 3 p.m. Tuesday, August 19th meeting of that week. Thank you.
Thank you. And I guess I would, Councilmember Krueger, do you have some comments on this particular item? Or
It's a meeting. I'll be focusing at this point. I'm looking at public safety, the prosecutor's office, and economic development. And also, so this weekend I was at the Fair Foundation, had their barbecue, and a couple of gals were presenting, and they are in the Fair program, and they were so articulate, and they probably had 14, 13. And I think I might have them do their presentation. It just shows, the involvement of being in these programs, what it does for children. And they were very shy, could hardly look at the crowd before, and now they've just blossomed. And I think I might showcase that.
Okay. Sounds like an interesting meeting. So I will, are there any questions from colleagues? Seeing none, I'm going to open this up for public hearing. If anyone would like to address the council on proposal R 2025-146, please come to the podium. Seeing no one, we will go online, Mr. Weinsberry, and I'm not going to touch any buttons.
Yes, Madam Chair. For any members of the public who wish to provide comments on proposal number R 2025-146, press the raise hand icon in Zoom or star 9 on your telephone keypad. And I see no hands, Madam Chair.
With no hands raised, we'll close public comment and see if there's any further comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, the motion for us is to adopt Resolution 2025-146. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ayala?
Aye.
Councilmember Yambe?
Aye.
Councilmember Herrera?
Aye.
Councilmember Morel?
Pass.
Councilmember Krueger? Did I pass? Aye. Councilmember Denson?
Aye.
Councilmember Hitchin?
Aye.
You have 7 ayes, 0 nays.
I will say aye.
Okay.
Okay. So
Can we
we have
take it again?
No. We have 7 ayes and 0 nays. Does anyone have any objection to me saying that? 7 ayes and 0 nays. Councilmember Morel? Okay. Motion carries. We will have an in-district meeting. You talk to him, Councilmember Krueger. I don't know.
Yes.
Okay. That brings us to proposal R 2025-149. I'm going to look to Councilmember Herrera to move this. Okay. Vice Chair Herrera.
Yes, I move proposal R 2025-149 for approval.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt R 2025-149. Can the clerk please read?
Proposal number R 2025-149, a resolution of the Pierce County Council authorizing the Human Services Department to reallocate 2024-2025 Homeless Housing Program Awards approved under resolution number R 2024-172S.
Thank you. And we're going to look to Ms. Connolly to introduce.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Mary Connolly, Council staff. Resolution number R 2025-149 begins on page 28 of your electronic packet, and this proposal comes to you by way of the Health and Human Services Committee with a due pass recommendation, which it received on May 6th. By way of background, the Homeless Housing Program, or HHP, is the county's largest regular funding opportunity for homeless services, including outreach, day shelter, safe parking, overnight shelter, transitional housing, rapid rehousing, and permanent supportive housing. The HHP program is administered by the Human Services Department, and it's funded through a variety of local, state, and federal funders. This biennium, the program includes nearly $15.4 million in funding from the Washington State Department of Commerce, and Commerce has indicated that underspending existing funds could reduce future state allocations to the county. Ordinance number 2023-44S2, which adopted the 2024-2025 biennial budget, requires the Human Services Department to present their HHP funding recommendations to the Council for approval, and requires that expenditures be authorized by Council via resolution. On July 2nd, 2024, the Pierce County Council adopted resolution number 2024-172S, which approved about $17.6 million in HHP funding recommendations, and those funds are available through June 30th, 2025. In the winter of 2025, 2 contracted homeless service providers used a portion of their HHP funding to provide inclement weather services, and this was allowed under a clause in their contracts. In the spring of 2025, through conversations with providers, the Human Services Department identified at least 8 of the 47 contracted projects that were underspending their contracted amounts, and determined that these projects would not spend a combined total of about $900,000 by the contract expiration date of June 30th, 2025. The Human Services Department also identified HHP projects that were performing well and could use additional funding to enhance their services or increase the number of people served. If approved, resolution number R 2025 2025-149, which is before you today, would authorize the Human Services Department to reallocate up to $900,000 of HHP funding for the 2024-2025 biennium. The resolution includes a methodology to reallocate funding from projects expending at the lowest rates to projects expending at higher rates, and to projects that used funding for inclement weather services in the winter of 2025. So I'll just go into a little bit more specifics about that methodology. The resolution specifies that contract amounts may be reduced for projects that are underspending if the reduction is agreed upon by the project contractor and the Human Services Department. Projects that have expended at least 70% of their contracted amount may have their contract increased up to 30% of their contract amount, not to exceed $125,000. So this would allow allocation of a significant amount of funding to those organizations that are most likely to spend that funding by the end of June. In addition to the increase that I just described, project contractors that used HHP funding for inclement weather services during this past winter may have their contract amount increased, and the department's intent there is to provide funding to these organizations up to the amount that they spent on inclement weather services. If there's funding that remains to be spent, then projects that have expended at least 60% of their contract amount may have their contract amount increase up to 20% of their original amount, not to exceed $20,000. And then finally, projects with higher spending percentages will be prioritized for additional funding, sequentially from highest spending rates to lowest spending rates. The Human Services Department recommends approval of this proposal, and then as mentioned earlier, the proposal received a due pass recommendation from the Health and Human Services Committee. There's a de minimis fiscal impact from this proposal, and an equity note was prepared by the Executive's office and is included in the packet. And today we have Devin Isaacson here from Human Services to help answer any questions you might have, and I'm also available to help answer questions.
Thank you very much. It appears we have a question from Vice Chair Herrera.
Thank you, Chair. I had a question on this. So we have a contractor. Is this like a voluntary thing? I mean, are they being voluntold, hey, you can't spend your money, we're going to give it to someone else? Or is it, how is that?
Yeah, so I think Devin can speak probably best to this, but my understanding is that this is voluntary, and that Human Services had conversations with the contractors to talk about if there were funds that they weren't going to use that could go elsewhere. But Devin, if you have anything to add, you can.
Ms. Isaacson.
Good afternoon, Devin Isaacson, Social Service Supervisor, Pierce County Human Services. And the only thing I would add is that we did give all of the providers the opportunity to tell us whether they could give funds back. We were met with a lot of participation, and folks were in agreement. They don't want to see the funds go unused, of course, because this is for homeless services in our community. And we did have a couple providers that said they would not be able to give funds back because they had a plan to spend them through. We then worked with each provider on a budget so that they knew what they were giving back and under what line items of their budget they would be giving those funds back, so that at the end of the day they would still be able to operate fully and make it to the end of the fiscal year.
Some secondary question, if I may, Chair. So if this gets approved and monies can be moved around, these were competitive contracts, and we have a list. Does this money stay within that list, or if they didn't make that list before, someone new can come up that maybe hasn't been through the competitive process, or is it just the folks that are left on the list that were approved?
That is a great question. It is the folks that were recommended for funding during that HHP process.
Okay.
So it's a movement of funds between those awarded recipients.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for the question. To clarify, my understanding is they have to spend these funds by the end of June this year. So if we were to contract with somebody new, I would predict.
Just making sure it's not, yeah.
Got it. Good question. Councilmember Morrell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is along the same lines as my colleagues pertains to is, so what the plan is to take that 900,000 and apply it to other existing contracts in the system, so you don't have to go through a procurement process. It is finance on board with the changes to the contracts? Because all you would do is just add to the contract amount when you're not changing the scope of what they're doing and having to issue a new contract, are you?
No, it is an amendment. For some providers, it will change some of their performance targets because they're getting additional funds. So it could mean they're serving more clients at the end of the day, depending on where those funds are going to be positioned in their budget.
Okay, and finances
Yes.
understands the concept here and is not going to have a problem implementing those changes?
We worked really closely with our fiscal team on the reallocations and what those look like, because as was mentioned, there are multiple fund sources. So it's this giant puzzle piece that has to be done. So yes, we did work with fiscal very closely too.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for the questions. We'll go to Councilmember Ayala.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to bring something up that came up in the Health and Human Services Department. And Devin, if you could speak a little more to it, because I think it's something that I kind of hung on to help explain some pieces. And this is the level of service provided during inclement weather and how it was an unforeseen and unplanned longer term of service, and how that would have impacted some of the organizations, and how this reallocation of dollars supports those that kind of went above and beyond what, not to say that expectation, but went above and beyond what was required.
Yeah, so it was about 27 days of very cold weather, 32 degrees or below, and we had multiple service providers step up. One of the service providers that's receiving additional funds to support all the work that they did during inclement weather is St. Vincent de Paul. Not only did they run a hotel motel shelter to house folks during the cold weather, but they also ran a day center, and they ran it during unusual hours, right? So they needed staff. They had to augment their normal staff through contracting with Pierce County. That's just to name one. There were many that did a lot of work during this inclement weather time. But in the long term, the intention is to not only recognize what they've spent and how that impacts their total 12-month budget, but come up with ways to have multiple sources where inclement weather resources can come from, not just these contracts.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the questions. Any further questions for either staff? Seeing none, I am going to open this up for a public hearing. Thank you, Ms. Isaacson. Okay. Open this up for a public hearing and invite anyone in the public in chambers that would like to speak on R 2025-149. Seeing no one, we will go online. Mr. Weinsberry.
Yes, Madam Chair. For any members of the public who wish to provide comment on proposal number R 2025-149, press the raise hand icon in Zoom or star 9 on your telephone keypad. And I see no hands, Madam Chair.
With no hands raised, we'll close public comment and bring it back before the council. Any further comments on adoption of this resolution? Well, I will just add before we call the vote, thank you, Devin, to you and your team and the Human Services staff. I see Interim Director McGovern on, and there were many people involved in calling these providers who looked on our end to be not quite getting everything out the door, and shift that so it didn't go back to the state, so that we could reallocate it to those that were exceeding expectations as far as spending and doing really good work in our community, especially when we had the weather emergency this year that lasted far beyond when we didn't really plan for it, but we knew cold weather was happening, but it was pretty unprecedented this year. So appreciate all the staff time that went into making this happen and the providers that jumped to help support. So before us is adoption of R 2025-149. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Cruver. Aye. Councilmember Morel.
Aye.
Councilmember Ayala. Aye. Councilmember Yambe.
Aye.
Councilmember Denson.
Aye.
Councilmember Herrera.
Aye.
Councilmember Hitchin.
Aye.
You have 7 ayes, 0 nays.
With 7 ayes and 0 nays, the motion is adopted. Thank you. We have no ordinances this afternoon, so that brings us to Community Forum. Community Forum is a time where we will give members of the public to address the council for up to 3 minutes on any topic of significance or affecting Pierce County government that did not appear on the council agenda this afternoon for final action. You do, like I said, have 3 minutes. You address all comments to the chair. We will start in chambers and then go online. So is there anyone in chambers that would like to address the council? You can just come to the podium, and if we end up with a line, then if you'd like your name on the record, just please state it at the beginning of your comments.
So good afternoon, council members. My name is Angeline Izquierdo. I met some of you last week. I'm here on a different topic today, and it's to request assistance in amending the policy on auto insurance that we have here for Washington State. So realizing that we are a county, I think that it can still be a good influence if others still chip in together as a state as a whole. And amending the policy to make it more accessible to everyone, despite the difference in socioeconomic statuses. There's been a hardship for me particularly, in the past few years especially, a struggle with this particular policy because it's been hard for me to try to acquire it due to different types of hardship, especially those that are surprise. And for first and foremost, affordability for the ticket for the traffic infraction, regardless of which department, is about $600 per ticket. So that alone is close to like as much as rent or mortgage. And then it's been hard for me to find a job for months at a time. And it's just suffering for years with stability and trying to find like a job with a regular schedule, and then even one that would even like pay me adequately, having to deal with on and off with labor trafficking here in our state. And then now it's also trying to shop for the auto insurance policies. There's different kinds. I haven't been able to find much of a month-to-month one. They usually want to request more of a 6-month package or even like the whole year, in which to try to afford that out of nowhere is like, woof. Even if you do get the traffic infraction, it's like, okay, we got to go get it now. And it's like, it's very expensive. So to give you some examples, when I just had one policy just for myself, single-family households, I did I started off at $150, going to $225, and it went to $350 per month. And then trying to shop for a package, it can be like $800 to $1,700. I even had one that went close to like $3,000 for just standard, nothing special package. So for my other friends, I had a similar situation in which they're paying about $500 a month for auto insurance. I had another one paying $120, another one $150, and then $180. And then to me, that's like a lot of fluctuation. And for that, there's no leeway when it comes to extreme situations, as in like for a forgiveness period, in which like upon renewal time, when it comes to surprising job loss, stolen insurance cards, as theft is frequent, and other life happenings that are out of our control. So again, I ask for your help in amending the Washington requirements for auto insurance for easier access in acquiring it and affordability, while also requesting an audit on the local police departments of Pierce County Sheriff's and Puyallup Police Departments, and doing fair and non-discriminatory stops instead of fishing expeditions that lead to using this law as a scapegoat for their racial and sexist biases.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Chair Hitchin, and good evening, council members. Thank you for the time this evening. Christy Gladhill, Gig Harbor, Washington. In his opening remarks at the April 29th meeting of the County Council, Sheriff Swank called Resolution 139S unconstitutional and crass political gamesmanship. In interviews on the Jason Rantz Show and with Gig Harbor Now, the sheriff has said he plans to call ICE and the White House to ask them for a hand in detaining illegal aliens. He insists on calling undocumented immigrants illegal aliens, though he has said anyone who calls 911 can feel safe and secure that deputies, when they show up, are going to help them out. Resolution 139S claims that everyone can fully participate in economic and civic life without undue fear of discrimination, but the presiding law enforcement officer in the county swears very publicly otherwise. Mixed messages persist in Pierce County, and that is dangerous. People I listen to say this: if you're brown here, you feel unsafe now, regardless of your citizenship status. Considering the lack of oversight of the sheriff's office, and in light of the fact that the actions the sheriff proposes directly conflict with Washington State's Keep Washington Working Act and Pierce County's Resolution 139S, all residents of Pierce County should be very concerned. These are some of the questions, the specific questions that come to my mind. I don't expect answers to them today. I'm just going to kind of leave them here hanging. Has Swank begun collaborating with ICE? If that's unknown, how will we know if and when he does, and what that means for Pierce County residents? Who will tell us? What communication channels will be used to tell us? What resources do we as residents have if we find ourselves with ICE and the sheriff on one side and the promise of 139S on the other? These questions are a matter of public safety for all residents of Pierce County. Council members, county staff, fellow residents, members of the media, do these unanswered questions not make you uncomfortable? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We will go online. Mr. Weinsberry.
Yes, Madam Chair. For any members of the public who wish to provide comment, press the raise hand icon in Zoom or star 9 on your telephone keypad. And I see no hands, Madam Chair.
Seeing no hands, we will close public or community forum and bring it back before the council. Are there any further comments or announcements? Seeing none, is there any more business before us this afternoon? Seeing no other business before the council, we are adjourned. Have a wonderful afternoon, everybody.